Greetings everyone! Here I am again, and in this tutorial, I will showcase a high-level built-in functionality of the Recrogrid framework, which, in the case of other libraries, would present an almost insurmountable challenge even for an experienced developer. This is Recrogrid framework's comprehensive, database-level filtering system that covers every field. In the tutorial, we will seek answers to the following questions. What is needed for the filter to function? What logical conditions can we use, and how can we combine them? How can we filter by data from another entity within a grid? How can a filtering condition be set as the default for the grid? How can filters be saved for later use? How can we define custom filtering logic? Soon, we'll have answers to everything. Stay with me. In the demo, I will use the previously created Northwind sample application, and you can find videos of its creation in the description. First, let's see what needs to be done to get the filter working. I have some good news. Based on the properties of the entities, RGF automatically provides the filter without requiring any coding or configuration. By clicking on the filter icon in the grid toolbar, all columns available for filtering in the grid will be displayed. Different logical conditions are available for different types of columns. For example, the unit price is a numeric field, so conditions such as equals, not equals, less than, greater than, and since this field is not required in this database, null conditions are available. Zero should not be confused with null, which occurs when a field is not filled in. Let's look at an example. I want to see the products where the unit price is greater than 12. In the range type filter, you can fill in the from and to values, or both. If I want the value itself to be included, I should choose the other option. The two can also be combined. For example, the condition could be greater than or equal to 12 but less than 14. The filtering conditions are incorporated into the database query, so only this data will be sent from the server to the client. In the next example, we will look at a Boolean field. In the form view, it is visible that the discontinued field is a checkbox. It also appears this way in the filter. Let's try it out. The next type is a string. For example, the product name. Here I would highlight two operators, like and not like. One will return true for field containing the pattern, and the other for those that do not. Let's search for CA. Every row where the product name contains CA will appear. If I want only those where it appears at the beginning or end, I can specify this with the % sign. If I place it at the end, it means it starts with such. If at the beginning, it means it ends with such. The underscore character allows me to specify a wildcard. For example, anything can appear between the A and I. ATI, Annie, Avi, Ali, and so on. The to lower checkbox allows for an explicit case-insensitive search. Currently, this is unnecessary because I am using a case-insensitive SQL Server database, but it can be useful with Oracle or PostgreSQL. Next, we'll look at a drop-down in form view, such as the category. In the filter, this appears as a list box, and you can select multiple items. This is how it appears in the query. This essentially brings us to filtering based on data from another entity, since the category name is in the categories table and not in products. We set this field in a previous demo for the form view, and thus it automatically appears in the filter as well. I will add 2 new columns to the products grid from the suppliers table, the company name and region columns. Currently, the supplier ID is displayed in the form view, and it is now possible to select from the suppliers table based on this. This is also displayed in the filter, based on its own and the external table. By default, RGF generates this, so it appears and works without any further coding. To make it more user-friendly, I will replace it with the company name. I simply need to change the name and type. And now, it's user-friendly to filter by name. What's important to us is that we can now also use it in the filter. For example, limited. This is what the query looks like. RGF automatically joins the tables and places the filter. I'll add another column, the region. The column name is supplier region. The entity base is the supplier. And this field is optional. This column can also be displayed in the grid. It's clear that some values are not provided, so we can try the null filter as well. Or let's filter by LA only. Next, we will create an example using parentheses and dates. This is the orders grid. I want to filter for the 7th and 9th months based on the order date. I will provide the from and to conditions in parentheses. So, order date greater than or equal to July 1st, 1996. And less than August 1st, 1996. Or greater than or equal to September 1st, 1996. And less than October 1st, 1996. The advantage of this method is that it will work correctly even if there are errors in the database and a column supposed to contain a date also contains time. For example, if the database contains August 1st, 1996, 5 a.m., it is greater than August 1st, 1996, which can produce undesired results. We've reviewed the basic filtering options, but near the end of the tutorial, we'll return briefly to how to define completely custom filtering conditions. But first, let's look at the saving options. First of all, there is an on-off switch in the filter window. This allows the filter to be temporarily turned off without having to delete it. The filter, sorting, and column settings can be saved for default display. If the administrator saves the settings, they will apply to all users who do not have their own settings. David is currently the administrator, And now I will log in with 2 other users. I'll save a custom setting with Nancy. If a user saves it, it will only be the default setting for them. Andrew will keep the default setting. If I delete the default filter with David, Nancy will still keep her settings. I refresh the page, and it will appear with her custom setting. Andrew will now see the new settings. Individual settings can be restored to the default display with the Reset Settings menu. This applies to column settings, filtering, and sorting as well. It is also possible to save filter settings individually. You need to give the filter a name, which can be used to restore it later. Next to the name, there is a checkbox labeled Public, which makes the filter accessible to any user. To set this, you need filter administrator rights. Andrew has such rights, and now I will set it. If I check with Nancy now, she will also be able to retrieve this filter. However, without the necessary rights, she cannot modify it because it's not hers. But she can save her filter. This is how you can load saved filters by name. If I don't check the public checkbox, this will be a private filter, visible only to the filter owner or users with filter administrator rights. Nancy won't see this. There's also a useful setting called Query Timeout. This allows you to specify in seconds how long the query can take at most. So in the case of large databases and complex filtering conditions, the default timeout can be extended. This is also stored when saving a filter. Next, as I promised earlier, I will demonstrate how to define some custom filter expressions. In the first example, I will define a filter that contains a variable, such as today's date, which might be needed frequently. Normally, filtering by today's date is not a big problem because you can simply select today in the date control, which works, but there's a problem with it. The today's date condition cannot be saved or set as a default because it would save the specific date. To solve this, I will add a new property called today. This is a dynamic property, and the form or filter type will be a checkbox. I will define a filter expression for this. In the expression, I will retrieve the current date from the server and compare it with the order date. RGF will insert the condition at the end. Let's try it out. To get results, I will quickly edit some records in this old database. The new field that can be filtered will appear in the filter. And here it is. In the query string, the filtering is visible here. Now I can save the current today filter as default, and it will work even if the database stores both date and time. That was really simple. Now let's look at something a bit more complex. What if I want to filter by product supplier in the orders grid? Where is this data located? Here's an order which has details which relate to the product. And here is the company name. I would like to filter by this in the orders grid. Let's take a look at the database structure. This is 3 tables away. And there's even a one-to-many relationship after the orders. To implement this filter, I will also add a dynamic property. In the filter expression, I will join the tables and prepare the filter by name. Let's try it out. Let's filter for liquid. This is really amazing. Let's randomly check a record. This order indeed contains an item where the product supplier's name includes liquid. Now I'll make a small improvement so that I don't have to memorize the company names. First, I'll set up the suppliers to be used as a dictionary. Now I'll set up a dictionary to appear based on the entity base. The condition also simplifies. There's no need for the suppliers table because we are filtering by ID. Let's try it out. And it works perfectly. This is what the query looks like now. It's almost the same, but it's easier to use and more efficient this way. And with that, we have completed this tutorial. With the techniques demonstrated here, it's possible to create extremely complex filters within the Recrogrid framework, even by incorporating views or stored procedures. We also touched on how to save filters for future use. What's also worth noting is that the code didn't need to be modified at all, allowing custom filters to be defined later, even in a production environment. However, if this isn't sufficient for someone, I can mention that the query building process can also be modified at the code level. That said, such modifications would require a deep dive and go beyond the scope of this material. If you liked it, click the like button and check out other Recrogrid framework content. Thank you for your attention.